Alicia Keys with In Common. It's 88.2 Sanyu FM, the hit selector right now. I am Crystal, and joining me on Celeb Select, I am so happy to have her. I have the gorgeous Susan NAVA here with us. Thank you so much for coming, joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Maybe people haven't really seen you on TV in a while,
Yeah,
should I
a long
say?
while, eh?
Because there was a time when, we saw you at all the happening spots, all the happening events. But before we get to that, can you take me back? Where did you grow up?
Stockholm, Sweden.
In Sweden?
Yes.
Okay.
Born and raised the first 18 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did a year here, actually. I did primary 5 here. And that's kind of how I fell in love with Uganda. Because then everything after was always like, so when am I going back to Uganda? When am I going back to Uganda? And my mom would be like, you'll go back, finish high school, finish. And, maybe you can go back between high school and university. And that's exactly what I did. First year of uni, I said, can I take a dead year? My parents were fine with it. And 2007.
You came home.
Yep.
You came home. Well, I find it so interesting that you didn't grow up here, but you're multilingual. You speak so many languages. Please share with people how many languages you speak.
I speak Luganda, Rutoro, Serbian, English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Serbish is?
It's Yugoslavian, Baltic language.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they speak in Sweden?
No, and Swedish, so
And
they're
Swedish.
fine. It came so naturally. I'm like, oh, men herregud. Okay, yeah, and Swedish.
That's interesting. Have you always had like a knack for languages?
Yeah,
You've always been good at
and
languages.
accents.
Okay.
Because I learned how to speak English the year I came for primary 5.
What?
I couldn't speak a word of English,
Oh, wow.
which made primary school really difficult in the beginning. But I have a thing for imitating people. It's sort of how I've probably landed into acting. I'll listen to you speak. Like if I speak to you for more than 10 minutes, you'll hear the accent sway your way.
Okay. Well, I think sometimes we do that also just to be able to easily relate to other people
Yeah.
as well. But by the time you can speak all those languages, you have a gift. There's some people, no matter how many times they hear a language, nothing. There's like a wall right there.
I'd love to learn Mandarin, and I don't know, I think it seems so difficult because I have friends who've gone to China for university and come back speaking it fluently. But I think it's become more difficult with age to retain information and learn the language. So maybe it was a gift I had when I was younger. I'm an old
Okay.
woman now.
So when you came from Sweden to Uganda, was it a huge difference for you? Was it a culture shock? I mean, because you've done the 1 year, but moving back is like another thing.
Yeah, but as many people who grew up in the diaspora will tell you, we were probably exposed to more Uganda than people who grew up in Uganda. Because for me, my grandparents and my mother are very nostalgic about Uganda. So you're watching Ugandan plays, you're going to Ugandan parties, you're forced to kind of embrace the Ugandan in you, and which is a great thing because it's easy for people to lose track of their heritage and culture. So
Yes.
for me, it wasn't a culture shock. In fact, if anything, everyone who knows me, who speaks Luganda with me, says you're a little too polite. Like everyone is sebo and yabo, because growing up, every auntie we were so few Ugandans in Sweden. I think in total must have been like 500. So every Ugandan was your auntie or uncle.
Your uncle.
And so
That's standard. That's kind of African culture. Auntie so and so. Okay, so now back then, when you were about 18, 19, you were singing and you were rapping.
No, rapping and singing didn't happen at 18 or 19.
really?
East Africa TV happened at 18 or 19.
Okay.
I did Claw Wired, and doing interviews and stuff, getting to know people in the entertainment industry. So my first friends were in entertainment.
Okay.
So when I decided to try out singing, because I love music, like we're just playing the Alicia Keys song and I'm just, oh my God, that's so great. Listen to it. I love music. So when I wanted to try it out, I go to a friend who knows a little bit about music. For everyone else, you just choose your friend who knows how to play an instrument. My friend was Sam Lamar, the producer. So when I say I want to try out recording, he just put one of the best beats I've heard from him and lets me try something out. And then I send it to another friend for his opinion, who happens to be Fat Boy on Sanyu. So like I didn't really do rapping and singing
So it
per
just
se. It kind of just
happened.
happened. And then
Okay.
after one song, I realized there was performing involved, and no, No.
Not for you.
Not
Not
for
for you.
me, no.
Okay, so I'll ask you for your first request right now. An international song that you're just crazy about.
First of all, I'm crazy about Drake. I love Drake. I've loved Drake since the mixtape, since, Thank You, Thank Me Later and whatnot. But this song is about the connection you can feel in a club with a stranger when you're dancing. And for those 3 minutes, it's just magical. And I really loved that this song describes it perfectly. So it's
Okay.
One Dance by Drake.
And Wizkid.
And Wizkid,
It's kind
yes,
of the
he was there.
biggest song in the world right now. Here it is.
Grips on your way.
Okay. What were you just saying about One Dance?
No, I mean, there is that part that was my mom said, I played her the song and she goes, "Oh, Bambi, sounds like he sent his verse through WhatsApp." So really, because it sounds distorted. And I think it was meant to sound like that.
Yes, I think that was the intention. Okay, so you talked about, you worked on Kampala Wired, Club Pop Wired, and then you did this song. And then you decided that music wasn't
Yeah,
for
that's
you.
not for me. No.
You would never go back?
No,
Not
no.
at all?
I love music and I love being behind the scenes of music. Like one of my favorite rappers in the country is The Myth. So anything that needs my support, needs me to create awareness for, I do. But personally, no.
No. So you ended up in TV. Tell me what happened after that.
Yeah, I did Cloud Wired for a year and a half. Then mid 2008, I just needed a break. And I do that. It's a habit of mine where I'll go without a break, and then I'll get tired of whatever it is that has me going without a break, and then I need a break.
Okay.
So I did 6 months off, and login happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We saw you on Login. We
Yeah.
loved you on Login.
Well, yeah.
and that's about the time, I mean, you were kind of established as the party girl because you were at all the events.
Because that was my job.
It was your job. But then what came with that as well is you
Yeah.
were always in the tabloids.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. And I can't
For
even
all kinds
blame
of
them.
reasons.
Ah,
Do you remember?
dark days. No, I do remember, and I can't even blame anyone for that but myself, because I hadn't figured out who I am and where I should channel my energy. So because this is what I did for a living and it was so much fun, I'd be in a bar every single night. And you don't add value to yourself when you're only seen in one setting. So people have this perception of who you are, and understandably so. That's the only thing you've exposed them to. So I was in the tabloids because I'd be partying, all the things that what did you do at uni? Between 18 and
Oh, I
23, you're
partied.
making friends, you're partying, except I was doing it in the national tabloids every weekend. So yeah.
Okay.
So that was really why.
And there was also a serious fascination with your love life.
Oh yeah, right? Right? Again, what were you doing at uni?
No. Don't you
See?
turn this round.
See?
But you were, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Were you engaged at a pretty early age?
Yeah, I think I was, as my we like to say nowadays, sold a dream. I thought that, as you should whenever you enter into a relationship, that this is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life.
How old are you at the time?
19. Yeah. And looking back now, almost a decade later, and I'm just thinking, really? No?
Like you were actually willing to take that path?
Yeah, but then, I mean, I'm an extremist. Whenever I venture into something, I just want to do it like to the max. So fall in love,
all the
hey,
way.
let's get married.
Well, at 19, that's a lot of courage, I will say. I think that's because that's a huge step.
Right?
It
I know
is a
that
huge
now.
step.
I know that now.
So after Login, you did that for a couple of years.
Yes, I did log in for 2.5 years. And then the dead year that I talked to my parents about at 18 had now, been almost 5 years. So they were saying, what's happening? Are you going back to uni? So I did. I took a break and went to Stockholm, finished university. And that's why I was gone for almost 3 years.
What did you do at university?
Political science.
Political science. Have you always had a passion for like politics and?
I've always had a passion for expressing myself and expressing my views and amplifying the voices of people who share those views. which is why I was in entertainment, because I really loved entertainment. And then when the older I got and it was time for uni, I was very passionate about civic duty and patriotism and the political systems in our country. And then I thought, okay, how do I now express myself here, learn more, gain
Okay.
more insight, more information. So yeah, that's where the passion came from.
That's fascinating. Okay, so now I am going to ask you for your next request. You asked for a Sauti Soul song.
Ah, yes, I did. Sauti Soul. I interviewed them in Nairobi, 2009, right before the NECA show, and I'd never heard of them. So this big boy band in Nairobi, and I said, I've never heard your music. So Ben, one of the members in the band, says, let me send you our music. The first song I played was this one, and I fell in love with it so much that I had it translated. The entire song, because I don't
What?
speak Swahili.
That's
But I loved it so
awesome.
much because it expresses such strong emotion. And it's one of their first songs, one of their first hits, Still the One.
Still the one, Sauti Soul.
Na sasa uko 50 bado unakaa.
Sauti Soul with Still the One, beautiful one. And another request from Susan Nava, my guest on Celeb Select today. We have so much to say. If we could share everything, we're just like non-stop. Now, you mentioned when you left Login, right? You decided to go back to school. At the time, there was some silly rumors, should I just say, about you leaving NTV at the time. You might have had an issue with someone.
No,
No, no,
no. There was
no.
speculations, and I remember addressing them even in the media. Whenever someone would ask me about it, I'd say, I am studying. And for anyone to think that I would have, unless I have shares in NTV, I can't have a say on who my replacement is. But they chose someone who I'd worked closely with and
Okay.
have no problem with.
Okay. I'm also asking that because, sometimes I've seen there's a culture of people leaving one place and going to another or just leaving a job and they don't do it the right way.
Yep.
And I think it hurts so many people. Do you see that a lot as
Oh,
well?
yeah.
Because, some people just won't show up for work.
Yeah.
No notice.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. In my current place of work, I fire a number of people on that basis, simply because communication is important, accountability, taking responsibility for what your duties are. If you can't take that seriously, clearly we're not on the same path. I have never subscribed to that behavior. When I was leaving NTV, I remember Kathy, who was my boss at the time, who's now a good friend of mine. I sat down with her and told her my parents were asking me to, go back to uni. I didn't see myself doing Ugandan university. And she said, no, I understand. We took a month figuring out a plan on how we're going to, how I'm going to leave. And even when I left, there was a long message and was supported by the station and everyone else on Facebook, on social media. I left on good terms.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm asking for that very reason because all the time you hear all these stories of, someone left badly. And I think it's so important because it helps you in terms of where you're heading next. So you finished university and then you came back to Uganda.
Of course, I love
You
Uganda.
came back home again.
I love Uganda.
So how was that coming now changing in terms of even your work?
Well, I mean, even when I was on EATV, I always knew that television is fueled and run by advertising revenue. So when when I had a chance to be on air, they'd be looking for sponsors, and I almost always got my own sponsors. So one of the people who would connect me to the companies like Club and all the companies that have advertising budgets to advertise on TV shows said to me, why don't you do this part-time? And I said, I have no experience. And he said, no, you can learn. You're really good. You've presented your case and been able to get sponsors for these shows. Why not try it out? So I started as an intern at Brand Vision in 2007. And then over the years, I've gained experience. I've left and come back, and I'm now the GM. So when I was coming back, I had a guaranteed spot at an advertising agency that handles big clients. There was no hiccup. No.
Okay, so do you find advertising challenging in Uganda?
Yes, because there's a lot of awareness about traditional advertising, billboards and TV ads. Not so much about digital media, which is where the audience is right now.
Which is
So
really growing now. Mm-hmm.
we get frustrated by explaining that to clients, telling them you have to pay someone to run your Facebook account. But other than that, no, I'm not challenged because the industry also has some very, very intelligent and innovative people, like your former co-host, Shanice. I think she's doing it at Blue Flamingo, doing
Yes.
great things. And, whenever we're able to have, people who are driven and passionate about the industry, it's not challenging, no.
It's not challenging.
No.
So you mentioned that you've fired a couple of people over the years. In terms of our work ethic as Ugandans, we're always hearing that Ugandans are so lazy, Ugandans are so unprofessional. What do you think?
I refuse to generalize and stereotype our people like that. I think, because quite honestly, I did the majority of my school outside of Uganda, where we were pretty chilled. Like, you show up to school a bit late, it's not that bad. I work with people who went through primary school, secondary school, university, done boarding schools, have tasted the chiboko. I don't think that you're lazy. I mean, if you've shown up at school before 7 every morning, you've done night prep, I don't think you're lazy. I think you're choosing not to take responsibility. Maybe because I don't expect people to be lazy and laid back and all of those things. I work with fantastic people who live up to their roles, yeah.
Because you're constantly hearing people, especially you're in management, senior management, you hear people constantly complaining about, you're trying to hire young talent and it's so difficult to get people who are dedicated, who are committed, who are professional.
I turn the guns on us in senior management. How much training are you giving your people? Do they know the vision and mission of your company? People live up to expectations, young, old, Ugandan, foreign. If I let you walk in at midday and still pay your salary, chances are you won't stop. So, there's a way to have your checks and balances in order and provide training for people. Let them know what you expect from them. Are you tougher on people for being late or for delivering late? It's really depends on what the work ethic around the company is. I refuse to say that Ugandans are lazy. I think it's what you get what you put in.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you for your next request right now. A Sheba song?
Yes, I absolutely love this song, and I'm sure so does the rest of the country. I've had a chance to work with Sheba on the iDroid campaigns last year, and I've now, she's an AfriCell. She's an AfriCell ambassador right now, and she, like we were saying in the breaks, we've seen people in this industry, Crystal.
Yeah, like when they were just
starting out. I've seen Sheba from when she was a member of Obsessions to trying out a solo career, and it gives me so much pride to love a song of hers as much as I love this one. So it's Nkwatako.
Now let me talk to you, sit down. Bambi tetuyomba, when you
You are a busy bee because you are also acting, my dear.
I am.
How did the acting? I mean, have you acted? Like, did you act back in the day?
No.
Is this a new development in your life?
The first time I ever got in front of a camera to be a character other than myself, and good Lord, I can't believe I'm bringing this up, but it was Bobby Wine's video, Carolina. I was on set and he was auditioning girls to do the part, and he just kept irritating me because I loved the song so much and they didn't get it. They didn't get that you had to be so, show that pain. And so I told him, no, you know what, I'll do it. And he let me do that. And then I just let it go. That's the first time I ever got in front of a camera to act. Then years later, I've done login, I've gone to Europe and come back, and all my friends are on this show called Beneath the Lights.
Exactly.
And it had all the hype of 2014. Good Lord, it was on every social media platform. And I was just hanging out with them on set. A couple of times I'd see them audition for this character, Ali. Troubled female, an enforcer, an assassin. She kills on
You're
demand.
scary. You're scary.
She was everything that's wrong with, that can be wrong with a person. And we went out one night, and as I'm standing there, the producer, Nana Kaga, who's brilliant. Nana, she has a mind that just is different. She walks up to me and says, Susan, you know what? Why don't you do Ali? And I told her, the killer. She said, yes. I said, does she have a sex scene? She said, not yet. I said, well, okay, because, I don't want to be disowned. Abe masaka banyiga bubi. So I said, you know what? Sure, let me try it out. And then I went and read the script and tried to understand the character and understand what drives her, what motivates her. Because I said, if the last thing you did was Carolina, you better come correct in this one. So we went to shoot. And first reading, I just switched off Susan and switched on Ali. And everyone just thought, this is what we've been looking for.
Okay.
There's a lot of nonverbal.
So you were just hanging out on set. You weren't
No.
actually thinking of acting or trying out for any of the roles.
No.
Wow. I find it so interesting, the story of Beneath the Lies in general, because it seems most people are like, what do you think about this? But
Yeah.
like you said, it's a star-studded cast. And sadly, you shot the first time around and lost all the footage. So you started again.
Yeah.
And you're all very, very busy people.
Yeah.
How do you all find the time? When do you shoot?
Well, like you said, all very busy. I think some people are traveling the continent, others have 3 things going on, and you see all these things in the media. But I have to say, this is largely due to Nana and Cedric, the producers. When everything that happened, Cedric sat us down, told us what had happened, and said, I don't know what's going to happen from now on, but I hope we can shoot this again. And if you guys are willing to do it, set some time aside and we'll work around your schedules. So we were able to do this the second time around because they were so accommodative to our, our busy lives.
Okay.
I have to work from 8 in the morning till 8 p.m. most days. So I'd shoot on Saturdays or before I have to go to work or, after work. We found time for them and they found time for us.
Okay. So would you say that, like, now that you're starring in Beneath the Lies, would you say that acting is going to be a big part of your life from now on?
I think so. I think this is something that sheds a spotlight on things that I'm passionate about. I'm able to come here and talk to you today because Beneath the Lies is premiering this month. So I can talk about things that I'm passionate about, like civic duty and, gender equality. And I hope that if I then take this path into acting, hopefully I'm very good at it, and hopefully I choose the right roles, and hopefully I'm in the right projects, and hopefully that puts a spotlight on the issues that I'm passionate about.
Okay, so let me ask you a question that I'm sure you've heard many times before. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Alive, God willing, for starters. Alive. Hopefully doing what I'm doing now on a much larger scale. A few things in the pipeline. Being part of the evolution of Uganda and the advertising industry in Uganda and civic duty gaining more awareness in Uganda. So hopefully in 10 years, I'm looking back the way I'm looking back at the past 9 years going, I did that and that was, I'm
A lot
content.
Okay, so tell me, are you dating?
Well, no. I mean, I don't have time for it. I was trying to find like a proper way of phrasing this. It doesn't sound too arrogant, but I have a busy schedule, and honestly, it would be so unfair to anyone to have to be part of my life right now. But hopefully, God willing, soon.
Soon.
Hopefully.
She's really, really tiptoeing around this issue.
No, hopefully soon. And you'll be the first to know every time I see you. I'm like, Crystal.
Yes. Let's sit down. Let's catch up.
Let's catch up.
Nicely. Okay, so in terms of like what you've learned over the last 10 years, if you look back, you've had so much happening in your life over the last 10 years. What have you learned? How has it shaped you as a person you are now?
It's influenced my faith a lot. The belief that this is not all up to me and that I have to play my part in the things that I ask God for. And over the past 10 years, if there's anything I've learned, it's how big of a part God plays in my life. So that's the most defining lesson to me. And then also to be governed by your joy, to choose things that are in line with what makes me happy. So for the past 10 years, I'd say, it's about it. It's be happy, pray,
Mm-hmm.
be in touch with your spiritual side, and everything else works out.
And everything else will fall into
Yep.
place. Everything will fall into place. Okay, so we're almost out of time.
Ah, so much
Oh, I
fun.
have more to ask you, but I'll ask you for your last request, and it's a song that has a very special meaning for you.
It does. It's my ringtone. If I can have it as a callback tune, I've sent it to all my friends, and I hope that everyone understands it. It is a love song to your faith.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it's a love song to everything that the rapper holds dear, which is his grandma, his faith, and how every Sunday, and maybe it's because I'm a Catholic, so every Sunday there's communion, and that's what the chorus is about. Eat my body like it's holy, the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my last request is Chance the Rapper,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday Candy.
Here it is, and thank you so much for coming on Celeb Select.
Thank you for having me, Crystal.